Hello everyone and welcome to the first video in this little mini series of Q&As. My name is Bo Maxwell and I'm the founder of the Sage Method. I have a lot of questions that come through from people all the time, continually, and a lot of them are very similar because we all have some of the same curiosities about mediumship, psychic abilities, intuition, etc. So I decided I would do this little mini series and answer a few of your questions. I sent out a request to my gang, which is AKA my newsletter list. And I said, hey crew, what questions do you have about intuition? And I'd love to answer them. So the first one that came through is probably the best one that happened right now. So if you're watching this recording at a later date, this was recorded during the coronavirus, the pandemic. So there's a lot of fear going on. So this first question that came through, I was like, this couldn't be more perfect to answer right now. So, okay, first question's from Susanna. One of my big questions, she says, is how can you tell the difference when it's intuition that something bad is going to happen or that it's fear? I'm fairly intuitive, so I try to stay positive, but I've noticed that sometimes it can be confusing when I feel anxious about something. Does fear and intuition show up in different parts of our body? And is there a way to tell the difference? Okay, while I would love to say, yeah, you can tell the difference, just do this, boop, and then you can tell the difference, it's not that easy. But I do feel like if you have some understanding around it, it's easier to learn how to tell the difference. So I'm going to start with a really positive example, and then I'm going to apply it to a fear-based example because that'll answer it a little bit with a little bit more clarity. All of this has to do with intent. Intent is one of the killers of intuition, not killers of intuition because your intuition's flowing, but it's a killer of accuracy. And that's what we want. So if you have a lot of intent, a lot of emotion, a lot of attachment to the answer or the outcome or the topic that you are trying to get intuitive information about, your accuracy is going to be really low. It's just the way it is. So when you put your desire into something, it reduces your accuracy rate for your intuitive information coming through. When you can disconnect from the outcome, okay, I don't care what the outcome is, just I'm gonna ask this question to my intuition. Not easy to do. But if you can do that, that's where the accuracy is, because intuition flows through you as a channel, and that channel has to be empty, has to be the hollow bone. The information has to come through. And in order to allow your intuition to speak clearly, you can't wrap it up in emotion and intent and everything else. So the positive example, let's say you want a car. You want to trade your car in for a new one, or let's say you wanted to go on a weekend vacation for a while and you're hoping that you can book that vacation soon, and you sit down and you talk to your guides or you tap in through meditation, however you access your intuition. Let's say you sit down and you say, okay, am I going to get that car? Your intent is really big on that one, or because you really want it. So if you want a particular outcome to happen, it's going to block the clear intuitive information from flowing through. It's a kicker, but it's why we have a hard time getting information for ourselves, because we have a hard time releasing our desire to the outcome. Now, same is true with fear. When you have fear, you have a desire to an outcome. You don't want that to happen. You have emotions around it. You have intent. And so when you ask your intuitive flow to come through and answer questions about something that you're already scared and you already have anxiety, your accuracy is going to be low. It just is. Another way to say this is that you know when it's your intuition, when information comes through out of the blue. Didn't expect it, didn't see it coming. It's when we sit down and we're already focused on something for ourselves. I'm just speaking for ourselves here. I'm not talking about readers reading for other people. When we sit down and we've already have that, you know, it's on our mind, we're already processing it, and we say, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna ask this question, and I'm gonna see what I get from my intuition because I am hopeful for a particular outcome. This is true for a weekend getaway, and it's true for what you're scared of. So it's true for both of them. When you sit down and it's already there, and your left brain has already been thinking about it and worrying about it and stressing about it, unless you can completely release the outcome, unless you can step into a space of, I don't care what the answer is, I'm going to be fine with whatever comes through. If you can do that, then you can ask yourself intuitive questions and the information will come through more clearly. This is why even strong readers still will find another reader and ask them to do a reading for them to get some clarification, because, you know, we don't reach this perfect point of having no attachment to any outcome whatsoever. So I guess in a nutshell, that's your answer. When it comes to, and I want to talk about too, you talked about how you feel it in your body, does it show up differently? I do want to address that as well. But in general, when you are already worried or already nervous and you're asking an intuitive question of yourself to try to get an answer, the accuracy is going to be really low. If you want the accuracy to increase, you want to release the outcome, not care what the answer is, be completely open to any answer. Okay, when it comes to the physical part of it, there is really a difference, and now everyone's intuition is unique. Everyone's intuition is exactly, it's wired through them. They are a unique person. It flows through their personality and different senses, and it expresses itself in a different way. So for everyone, the physical feelings are going to be different. If it is an intuitive information, you could feel a cold sensation. If it's fear, you could feel heat. This is going to take some time to develop and learn, okay, when I feel this way, I know it's this. When I feel this way, I know it's this. When I hear something from the left side, it's this. When I hear something from the right side, it's this. This is the same as imagination versus intuition. This is one of the biggest things that comes through. And actually, there's a link, I think, on the website still that has a like 60-minute training video on imagination versus intuition. Be a great one to watch in conjunction with this video. But when you start to say, okay, well, I know when it's just me, when it's my imagination, or I'm focusing on it, I feel this way. When I know it's intuition, I feel this way. And the best thing I can do for you right now is give you an example of how it goes through for me, because then you can, you know, start to say, oh, okay, well, that's how it works for her. I can see it's different. Let me start to explore my own differences on how information comes through. So for me, if I'm worried about something and I'm anxious about something, and even if I forget about it for 10 minutes or an hour, and then something pops into my head on that same topic that I was already previously worried about, I will feel anxiety in my outer limbs and like my arms and stuff, and it's that like quiver. I'll feel like a quiver that goes through when the information comes through. This is not the goosebumps. This is like an internal, it's kind of cold and quivery, and I don't like it. It's a form of anxiety. When I feel that, I know I'm worrying. And this is just me worrying. This is fear speaking. When it's intuitive, even if I was thinking about it and then an hour later it popped in, or it just came out of the blue, it feels solidly right in my gut, like a lump, like just a lump of clay just landed in the middle of my stomach. And then there's also a push, a drive to reach out and do something. And so it's like I got to do something about this. Whereas if it's fear, I can feel myself just sort of shut down and sit there and try to figure it out. When it's intuition, it's a gut feeling for me, and I know I have to go do something. Okay, I got to figure this out. I'm going to call these. Are you okay? You okay? You okay? Everything all right? Okay. And so when it's intuitive information for me, it brings me to sort of a call of action. When it's fear, it shuts me down. Over time, you will learn these things. Focus on the difference between imagination and intuition, how those both feel different, how they feel differently from each other. And that is going to set you up with being able to distinguish if it is fear or if it is an intuitive message coming through. Thank you for your question, Susanna. You're awesome. I really appreciate it because it's such a good one to answer, especially in these times right now. So I very much appreciate it, and I'll be back with the next question. Mwah.